All right. So, how do you attract a marriage? Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Muslim brother or sister, right? Even if you're non-Muslim, okay? This applies to pretty much anyone, and this is not just about marriage. It's also about, whether it's your fitness, whether it's your business, networking opportunities, anything you want. This is how you attract opportunities, and it doesn't feel like you just got lucky or, because at the end of the day, a lot of the things that we receive comes down to two things: tying our camel and leaving the rest to Allah. So if you're tying your camel, then you are going to increase your likelihood of achieving whatever goal you want to achieve. And if you have the tawakkul, then when you receive it, then you understand, okay, well, I've done it, alhamdulillah, now I'm going to receive it. So this is what I'm going to talk about. So before you can attract a marriage, or if you want to attract a marriage, whether it's business, whether it's marriage, whether it's fitness, it's the reality is you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are, right? You have to become the person who can carry what you're asking for. And that's what I'm going to break down today. So as you can see, this is back in 2020. This is me a few months back. And when I came back from, I was in Senegal for a little bit as well. I was at a very low point, right? My self-esteem was very low. My fitness wasn't too good. I actually lost a lot of weight. At this point, I actually gained weight. But what happened was when I was here, I actually gained like I started to become that person that I knew that I could be, because I gained a lot of insight. I had a lot of experience. You don't see it yet. Like in this point, you don't see it. But at this point, I was working on myself a lot. I was at the gym almost every single day. Like I was always at the gym, right? And I was working on myself. I was working on just everything a part of my life, right? I was even figuring out what career I wanted to do as well. And I was working on so many aspects. Alhamdulillah, I'm still figuring things out. I'm a human being as usual, but as you can see, the difference is night and day, right? So I definitely obviously I slimmed down. I'm just naturally my my vibe just changed, right? And that's just it's part of it is also getting older, but it's through the experience, through everything that I've gained, alhamdulillah. And that's only through Allah, as I mentioned. So I'm gonna use this as an example, right? For me, it started with fitness, right? Back in 2013, I had no idea what I was doing. It took me 3 years to understand proper form. And what form means is just the movement, right? And then another 2 years to really understand nutrition, right? It took me 5 years just to get the basics of fitness right. And the key that changed everything was tracking, right? Tracking my workouts, tracking what I ate, tracking my progress. And that's honestly when I started to see real results, right? Again, the lesson is you don't just wake up confident in your body. You become the person who trains, who learns, who tracks, and who sticks with it. So if you've been working out for a while, you'll know that when you first start working out, you're going to start seeing progress, right? You're going to start seeing newbie gains. That's what they call it, right? But what happens is, how do you push past those newbie gains to get to the point where you want to get to? Because everyone has a different goal. For me, my goal, I just wanted to be like lean enough, like because I was very skinny already, but I wanted to stay lean, but I just wanted to have like I used to say normal person. Like I want to have a body normal person because I was really skinny back then, right? So again, this is me. This is like when I started seeing newbie gains. I think this was back in 2015. You can see the iPhone, sorry, not the iPhone. Like, I think it's Samsung Galaxy S3, right? And then this is me at the gym. You see, there's some newbie gains, right? Obviously, this is with a pump. I was probably like 130 pounds, 135 pounds here, right? And then this was me in Senegal. This again, you can see the potential there, right? You can see it there, but I was frustrated because I was always at the 135 pound mark, and I could not get past that. And this is me when I was in photography school, right? You can see that I was getting there. I was learning my way. I was trying to figure things out, but I still wasn't where I wanted to be, right? And then this was at a very low point. At that point, I was doing photography, but I kind of gave up on it. Not gave up, but I realized it wasn't something I wanted to do. So at this point in my life, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like I had no direction at all, right? And then this part was 2018 and 2019. I think it's 2019. You can see like the way I dressed was kind of like skinny jeans and all that stuff. Like you can tell that I didn't really find my identity. Like I couldn't really find myself. Um, to be fair, like it's like the way I dressed was kind of feminine too, if I had to be honest with myself at this point. And then this is funny enough was 2016. So this is a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my breakthrough. I'm gonna really work hard. So even myself, like there's points in my life where I've figured out, like I realized, okay, I truly really need to lock in, right? Again, you need to become the person who trains, who learns, who tracks, and who sticks with it, right? A lot of people, they either don't put in the action. A lot of people are in there. There's different categories of people. There are people who don't take action at all, right? If you're not taking action at all, then I mean, it is what it is. That's what it is. If you're watching this video, you probably aren't that type of person, right? The person who learns. Now, there's people who take a lot of action, but they don't take time to learn. There's a lot of people that are like that, right? People who track. Now, this is something that I always struggle with. Like something that I always struggle with is tracking. Like I don't track like enough, right? So I need to definitely track. And that's actually really helpful for measuring in terms of like how you're doing. I think my content really, really started to change when I started measuring my content, when I started measuring my watch time, when I started measuring right my views, when I started measuring my following on Instagram. And that's when I realized, okay, like I know what works, I know what doesn't work. So tracking is super, super important, right? And then one who sticks with it. So you have to stick, whatever you're trying to do, you have to stick with it for a little bit, at least stick with it for 6 to 12 months. A lot of people will give up. Like it's like 12 months is still not enough time, but a lot of people give up. Like they do this and then they don't do these two, and then they just give up, right? I started this fitness coaching business or this coaching business a year ago, and the amount of people that I know that came in and they left night and day, right? It's changed so much, right? And there's times even I'm sure where you may have tried something, I've tried something. I guess example, photography. I started really fast. I gained a couple thousand followers, right? And then I was actually starting to make some money with it. People were actually paying me to do photography. I think if I stuck with photography, I would be making like maybe good six figures, good high six figures, whatever it may be. And because that's just how your skills grow, right? Your skills will grow that way. So that's something to really understand. Again, I didn't stick with photography, hence why I didn't succeed with photography, right? So you have to figure out what that thing is, and we can talk about that in another video. But again, the concept of this video, you have to become the person who attracts these opportunities. Because if you don't, then you may receive it eventually. Like you may get married, you may make the money, you may get in shape, but when things happen, because life is going to happen, or there's going to be problems, or we're going to be tested, are you going to be able to maintain that? Are you going to be able to withstand that? If you're traveling, are you going to be able to maintain your shape, right? Are you going to be able to stay in shape? If some financial difficulty happens, right? Are you going to be able to bounce back, right? If you haven't done that yet, odds are you probably it's a skill issue, or you just haven't built yourself up, your own self up, right? So, or it's just timing as well. So this is a lot of different things, right? So again, we're going to tie this to marriage, right? Marriage was the exact same way, right? My confidence didn't just appear, right? Back before 2013, I had low confidence. I was in boarding school. I came back. I had zero confidence. Like it was to the point where I could not imagine myself with a woman. Like I was like, my self-esteem was so low. I could not imagine a woman actually being attracted to me. I could not even imagine it. Like it was something that's like so foreign. I could not imagine it, right? So that's when in 2013, like I worked at a grocery store, and honestly, at that time, again, like I could not hold any conversation with anybody. When I mean anybody, I mean anyone, right? And then, but really, the grocery store, I learned a lot because I was a cashier. So there's always downtime between when you're doing the cashier work and you're asking for the money, whatever. And sometimes I'd be like, why don't you just ask them how their day's going? And so what I would do is I would ask them, how's your day going? How's your day going? How's your day going? Right? And then they would naturally start to like talk. They would talk about their day. I'd start have some conversations with them, right? And then it started to boost my confidence a lot more because I'm talking to more and more and more people. And then eventually I became magnetically like a lot of customers started to really, be drawn to me, right? Because I just started talking to them more. I started asking more questions. And that's something that's something I unintentionally just realized, that when you ask people questions, they're naturally going to be interested in you. They're going to talk, right? If you ask them a lot of questions, right? So this is something that's super, super, super important when it comes to just in general, right? So this is what happened to me. And in 2015, I was like, okay, now I understand some confidence stuff. I'm talking to people. At that point, I think I was in community college. So I had a lot of friends that were, a lot of friends there. And, a lot of my friends, we were talking. And, I had one friend, he was like really, really helpful for me, like in terms of like helping with my confidence. So he introduced me to a few, channels. And this is why I'm doing this channel, because I know we need an Islamic version of this where there's a lot of dating coaches, but the way they explain things is about dating in terms of like the Western mentality of dating, right? Whereas like that doesn't resonate with Muslims. The Muslims, we have a different way of doing it, right? So by 2015, I started reading books on marriage, and I wanted to fully understand men, women, communication, all of it. And that gave me the knowledge, but it didn't give me the results yet, because you could learn as much as you want, right? But without the experience, you're not really gonna really experience anything, right? So that's when in 2019 I started to finally start to get in shape. I started to slowly figure out nutrition, my how to track my macros and all that stuff. And then I started having some conversations, having meetings, right, for and then engagements, right, engagement. But I still have a lot of work to do internally, and that's why, like, when I hear it wasn't fully there yet. I wasn't there yet. I could be honest with myself. I was not fully there yet when it came to attracting the right spouse. I was able to attract now a little bit, but it wasn't there yet. And then I had a lot of work to do internally. So from 2020 to 2023, I focused deeply on my internal state. But before that, what happened was the realization was because I came back and I started really, really working on myself. And I noticed I started to naturally attract opportunities. When I mean opportunities, I mean like potential spouses, right? But the problem was my internal state was still not at a point where I could attract a spouse. So there's always something off. There's always something that just didn't work out, right? There was always a hesitancy within me and also within the person. And I would make istikhara, alhamdulillah, especially at that time, anytime, and it would end right away. But I started to attract a lot more opportunities at that point in my life. So I started working on myself internally from 2020 to 2023. I focused deeply on that, my mindset, communication, emotional control. And that's when things start to align, right? It took years, just like fitness. And again, it was just a process of becoming that thing, right? For fitness, alhamdulillah, now it's like something where, look at it. I got a jump rope right beside me, and I'll do that anytime I need to do that, right? I'm going to get some kettlebells and get some weights, all that good stuff. And I go to the gym quite consistently. I'm in a new area, so I got to find a new gym for myself. But inshallah, all that will come. That's why I have my jump rope, be walking, all that good stuff. So this is why someone can be in their 30s, right? Have a great career, be in shape, and still struggle with getting married. Because success in one area doesn't automatically transfer. You have to intentionally become the man or woman who's ready for marriage in character, in faith, and in confidence. Okay. Yes, some people do find a spouse along the way. And that's actually a good thing, because a lot of times is you're going to find your spouse and as you're in your journey, right? Maybe you're going to find your spouse. Maybe you're studying. Maybe you're working, maybe whatever. As you're in your journey, when you don't really, it's really funny. You attract what you're not seeking, right? And what I mean by that is, like, if you're not desperate for it, you're gonna naturally just attract it, right? So that's what happens with a lot of different things, right? So you have to intentionally become the man or woman who's ready for marriage in character, in faith, and in confidence. Again, your deen is very, very important when it comes to this. Like, this will tie a huge, huge point into this, right? Because if you're in line with your deen, right, you're doing your, like, what I mean in line with your deen, if you're doing your farad, especially your farad, and you're working on your character development, you're working on yourself, then you're going to naturally attract a spouse. Okay. Like I said, a lot of people will find a spouse along the way, but for many of us, myself included, it takes real shaping step by step. For me, things don't come naturally to me. Things take time for me. But once I grab it, I grasp it, it stays, and I'm able to accelerate it. So that's always how I've been. I've always been a slow learner, but I've been someone who, whenever I figure it out, then alhamdulillah, I'm able to get through it, right? So why am I saying all this? What's the point of all this, right? And how does this tie down to you? Because a lot of people want to get married, right? And when I mean married, like, a lot of people want to get married, a lot of people want to start a business, a lot of people want to get in shape, but the reality is they may have just not done enough work on themselves to attract the opportunity, right? If you want to, like, I know a lot of brothers that are in their 30s, right? Or they're going into their 30s, they're working their career, they're working full time, and yet they're still not able to attract a wife, right? Maybe they're even in a situation where they're talking to these talking stages, right? They're actually talking to someone, but they're not even getting married, right? So a lot of times it's not even about, and there's people that are married themselves, but they themselves don't even know what to do, right? They're so lost, they're confused, right? And they don't even understand, like, the natural, like, the differences between men and women. And that's something that you always have to learn. You're never going to fully understand that, right? but there's always going to be differences. And the key here is to really understand that you have to become that person. Even when you get married, there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be things you're going to have to learn about yourself and about your spouse. But if you take the time to learn that, then inshallah, you will find your rhythm. So, anyways, if you're a brother and you know this is something you need to work on, becoming that man who can attract and carry a righteous marriage, then check out the link down below and let's see if it makes sense to work together. Inshallah, like my goal is to get you to become that person who's naturally going to attract a spouse. Because once you get to that point, all you really have to think about is this person the right person for me? Right? You'll naturally know, okay, this person's good for you. Because a lot of people, they have like a checklist and they just look at that checklist and they're going to be like, they'll be like, oh yeah, this person's good, but they have this one thing. But the key here is to understand, once you fully understand what you're truly looking for, you're going to look at someone and you're going to be like, yeah, this person aligns with me. And the key is to find someone who aligns with you, not someone who's like perfect, this and that, right? You have to find someone who aligns with your vision. So yeah, again, check the link down below. If you're a sister or if you're a brother who just wants like just a roadmap and just understanding, then check out the link down below as well. I have a free guide. We also have a paid guide as well. I'm going to put the paid guide down below if you'd like to check that out. And remember, at the end of the day, like, just remember this, like, you don't wait until you're married to change. This is what a lot of people think. A lot of people think, oh, when I get the career, when I get this, when I get that, then that's when they're gonna get it, right? But no, you change so you're ready to be married, right? So that's something I really want to emphasize. Like, you have to put in the work before you get married. You can't just expect to get married. You work a job and expect yourself to get married, right? You can't do that, right? You have to naturally work on yourself. Once you get to the point where people start asking you like, hey, when are you going to get married? Not even that, like when people start to ask you that, the reason why is because you have an energy, or not, so I don't say energy. I don't like the word energy because it sounds very woo woo. But what I mean by, you start to become that person. You start to attract those opportunities, right? So even me, when I built this page, when people are saying, oh, you deserve more followers, you should have more followers, that just means that where you're at is you're almost there, right? But maybe it's just a lag time, right? Maybe it's just maybe there's a time in between, right? Anyways, inshallah, I hope this was beneficial. I know this was little bit more of like a theory type of video. It's not like something that's like very like surface level. It's something that's a little bit more of a mindset type of video. But this is the key, honestly. Like, this changed everything for me. Putting in the work on the right things and really learning, taking a look at my gaps, where I can improve. This is what really helped me improve. So inshallah, I hope this provides some benefit to you. And again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And inshallah, I'll touch on this a little bit more in the future. Assalamu alaikum.